Leo and Emily had always been the kind of duo people noticed, not because they were loud or flashy, but because they moved through the world like a perfectly synchronized melody. They'd been best friends since the age of 6, the kind who finished each other's sentences, shared sandwiches without asking, and spent countless evenings on the rooftop dreaming about the future, about becoming astronauts, filmmakers, or just staying friends forever. It wasn't some dramatic love story at first, it was just two kids who felt safe in each other's presence. But as high school crept in and the days became busier, the world around them began to change. Leo, always quiet but thoughtful, started noticing how Emily laughed a little differently now, how she seemed to talk more to the popular crowd, especially those girls who judged everything from clothes to confidence. He wasn't jealous, not exactly. He just felt something slipping, like sand between fingers no matter how tightly he held. Still, he supported her, helped her study for exams, stayed up late helping with her art projects, and walked her home even when she forgot he was waiting. To him, Emily was home. And though he never said it out loud, love had bloomed silently in his heart, like a sunflower growing slowly toward a sun only he could see. But for Emily, things were more complicated. She knew Leo was always there, always dependable. But as she tried to climb the social ladder, the idea of being seen with Leo, a soft-spoken, average guy, began to feel like baggage she couldn't explain to others. Deep down, she cared, but her desire to fit in was louder than her conscience. Then came that afternoon. It was just another lunch break, loud chatter bouncing around the classroom. Emily was seated with a group of girls who thrived on gossip, mockery, and whispered judgments. Someone smirked and asked, "So Emily, is that guy Leo your boyfriend or just your little shadow?" Laughter followed. Emily hesitated, her heart screamed to say something kind, something true, but instead her ego took over. She rolled her eyes and said, "Leo, please, he's just my childhood friend, kinda clingy honestly, not my type at all." The words weren't just sharp, they were nuclear, everyone laughed. It was meant to be a joke, but to Leo, standing just outside the door holding 2 chocolate milks, one for her, one for him, it was a betrayal deeper than any knife. The laughter cut through him more than the words. He stepped in slowly, placing the drinks on her table. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what had happened. Emily looked up, eyes widening as their gaze locked. But Leo didn't shout, he didn't cry. He simply said with a calmness that felt almost inhuman, "We're done. Not just the friendship, everything." Then he turned and walked away, and with each step he felt a piece of himself detaching from the past. Emily called after him, but her voice caught in her throat, and the silence after was louder than any scream. For the next few weeks, Emily expected him to come back. He always did. But this time he didn't. Leo disappeared from her world, and she was too proud, or maybe too ashamed, to go looking. But Leo was not broken. He was reborn. He stopped sitting in the same place in class, stopped replying instantly to every message. Instead, he poured his pain into motion, joined the boxing gym, began writing music, picked up the guitar again. He focused on school and on himself. What once was emotional dependency turned into self-mastery. Teachers noticed the change, students noticed, even the mirror noticed. He didn't smile much, but when he did, it was real. And then came Ryan, a new transfer student. She was different from the others. She was grounded, focused, and carried the kind of quiet confidence that didn't need approval. Their first conversation wasn't dramatic. It was about a book Leo was reading during lunch. Ryan walked over, asked a question, and he answered. And for the first time in months, the conversation flowed. She didn't know his past with Emily, and she didn't care about school gossip. She saw Leo for who he was becoming, not who he had been. Over time, they studied together, laughed in between classes, and shared long walks home. Meanwhile, Emily watched from afar. She tried to pretend it didn't matter, but the ache in her chest grew every time she saw Leo laughing with Ryan the way he once did with her. Her old group of friends had moved on, found new gossip targets, and Emily, once the girl with the loudest laugh, now walked through hallways like a ghost in her own story. She tried texting him once, "Hey, can we talk?" But there was no reply. She even walked past his locker hoping he'd notice her. But he didn't, or maybe he did and just didn't care. The truth hurt more than the silence. As months passed, Emily began replaying that moment in her head again and again, the way she laughed, the way she minimized the one person who had been there for her through every storm. The guilt crawled under her skin. She remembered the time Leo had waited 3 hours in the rain just to walk her home, the time he had carried her bag when she had a sprained wrist. The time he stayed up helping her finish her art project even when he had a test the next morning. She realized too late that loyalty like his doesn't come twice. One day, unable to take it anymore, she found him alone on the rooftop, their old spot. He was sketching in a notebook. Ryan wasn't there, it was just him and the wind. Emily hesitated before stepping forward. "Leo," she said, her voice barely a whisper. He looked up, calm as ever, but didn't smile. "I messed up," she continued. "I was stupid. I said things I didn't mean. I just wanted to fit in, and I ended up losing the one person who mattered most to me." There was a long silence. He looked at her, not with hate, not with anger, but with something far worse, peace. He had healed without her. "I know," he said softly, "but I've moved on, Emily. You should too." She wanted to argue, to cry, to ask for a second chance, but something in his voice made her stop. It wasn't cold, it was final. He stood up, picked up his sketchbook, and walked past her, and just before he stepped off the rooftop, she heard footsteps. Ryan. She was waiting for him at the stairs. He smiled at her, a smile that once belonged to Emily, and together they walked away, hands brushing, laughter faint in the air. Emily stood on the rooftop alone, staring at the sky they once dreamed under. She wasn't angry, she was just empty. She had chosen popularity over loyalty, image over love, and now she was left with memories that whispered what-ifs every time she closed her eyes. Leo didn't destroy her. He didn't seek revenge, he just grew, and that was the loudest silence of all. In the end, the boy who once waited in the rain had found his sunshine elsewhere. And the girl who laughed to fit in was now forgotten in the crowd she once tried so hard to impress.